Welcome and thanks for joining us. My guest today is Sara Mazer, the Federal Chief Technology Officer for LaunchDarkly. Sara, thanks for joining the program.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit about what LaunchDarkly is, just to start things off.
LaunchDarkly is a software company that allows you to control the features of a software application in a very granular level. So you're able to control a feature to toggle it on or off at a moment's notice, or control who gets to see what feature at any time.
Got it. All right. So obviously you're probably watching how the federal government is doing this big cloud adoption that's been in the works for more than a decade now. What are some of the struggles that you're seeing agencies face, though, when it comes to cloud adoption?
Yeah, so I've been in the government space for almost 30 years. And I've seen a lot of failed migrations. I think Gartner says that 37% of the federal cloud migrations fail. And there's a lot of reasons why. One of them is always striving for a big bang approach and then running into disaster, and then not being able to test fully in production in the first place. And our technology allows you to do gradual migrations and also test in production where you can see features working in a production system before the rest of the world. And then you know when you turn it on for everybody else that there's not going to be any major incident happening.
Got it. Yeah, I think we've seen a lot of big bang technology projects in general and government kind of fall flat. And it sounds like you're kind of talking about DevSecOps at a principal level, but you know, obviously, migrations and downtimes puts service delivery at risk when you're talking about the federal government and the critical services that they supply. So how do you think agencies can avoid that downtime risk when they're migrating applications or whatever else to the cloud?
Yeah, so a lot of our government customers choose us because they want zero downtime. And so there's a lot of capabilities that we provide to enable that. One of them is first testing in production, like I mentioned before, so that you know it's going to work and you don't have to do a costly rollback of your application to a previous version. Also, if you do have an incident, then you know that you can quickly toggle off the features that are related to the incident and repair that issue and then just enable them again. So you don't have to bring your whole application down anymore. You just control the items that have a problem.
Got it. And what other risks are involved in the government making cloud migrations, and how can they kind of take on that challenge?
So it's a risky process in general, moving from, say, on-prem to the cloud. And being able to see things working in production is really important, and then not doing that big bang approach, like I mentioned. So what you could do is you could do a migration like a canary release, and start small, maybe just your development team or your engineers seeing something work in production. The rest of the people are still on the old legacy system. And then you can gradually add, say, 10% of anonymous users up to 50 and so forth slowly, so that you're checking to make sure everything works step by step and you don't have any incidents that way.
Got it. Sounds like an agile approach like we've talked about. I mean, one area where agencies are really moving forward with some cloud-based applications is in the healthcare arena. You know, how are you seeing agencies start to use advanced analytics and things like that to help improve programs in that space specifically?
Yes, so we work with agencies in the health and human services space, and they are using it for consumer services, if you will, and being able to control what people see, whether it is Medicare beneficiaries or the general public that is logging in for healthcare coverage and filling out forms. And so they want to make sure that that process is straightforward and very easy. And they can see who is doing what, who can see what, and do that predictive analytics on the back end to make sure that they have the right tools in place and the right features in their application to be successful. They could also do something called A/B testing. So it is a type of analytics where you tie what people are seeing to a metric, like filling out a form, And then you could have different individuals, say 50% of the population see one thing, 50% see another, and then make sure that you have the best choice at the end of the day. So say, item B won out over item A, and so they'll just make sure that 100% of the population is going to see it represented in the B state from then on after an experiment. So they can do tests to make sure that what people are seeing is easy to understand, is effective, and do that analytics up front. And then without making any changes to their code base, they can just make sure that the whole population at the end of the experiment is just seeing that one winning value.
So I think we're hearing a lot about customer experience. Obviously, in government, the CX has become such a big emphasis over the past few years. CX, or user experience, UX, obviously these things are really important to agencies. And in the healthcare arena, that's about members and patients and their experiences. How do you think agencies can build technologies, applications and things like that that can meet the ideal experience for those specific users and customers?
So there's the experience from a lot of different perspectives. There's making sure that they never see something that they shouldn't see. And so if there's any vulnerability, then they can quickly react. And if there's a system down, say on the back end, some of my customers will turn off user-facing, say a login banner. They'll turn that off so somebody can't log in and see potentially corrupt data. And so they'll fix something on the back end and they'll turn it on again so that the public doesn't even know that there was a problem. And so it's just making sure that everybody's happy and having the best experience possible, even when things break. And that is a challenge that federal agencies have a lot, is things breaking. And so having that granular control over every single feature and making sure that the users have the best experience possible is really important.
Got it. I mean, any other ways that, agencies can improve just the impact of app development and rollout for end consumers, so it's not a big disaster where things are down for months or there's big migration issues?
Yeah, so what ideally they want to do is move towards CI/CD and or trunk-based development. And so that is definitely an agile approach, and you can apply that to migrations. And separating deployments from releases of features is also part of that process, so that the developers can be very productive and they're continually adding code in over and over, and maybe a program manager or some other business manager will enable that feature when it's time to go live. Maybe that's directed by executive order mandate, et cetera, but you don't have all the developers in that process. You can split out the tasks a little bit more so that the developers are working on what they're good at, and the program managers can actually do the feature enablement and controlling the rollout of the features themselves.
Got it. Healthcare agencies and corporations have to comply with a lot of different privacy, security, other types of regulations and frameworks and things like that. What else should they look for when it comes to applications that might help with just migrations and artificial intelligence and all of these sort of bleeding edge things that they might be thinking about but not sure how to do?
Yeah, if I was an agency, I would look at, first of all, what other agencies are using the technology to make sure it's vetted, and then make sure that they are very secure as well. So I would prioritize an application that has gone through, say, FedRAMP authorization over other technology that doesn't have that, because you know that it's been audited and vetted and approved by at least one agency, if not more. And it means that there's eventually less risk to your agency, because these are like the top-notch, most secure applications out there.
All right, in 30 seconds or so we have left, any closing thoughts you'd like to leave us on?
Sure. I think that agencies should consider looking at feature management technology, whether it's our application or some other, but it helps them separate deployments from releases, control who sees what, enables them to test in production, and ultimately make those migrations a lot easier, simpler, and reduce risk to the agency.
Okay, all right. Well, again, I'd like to thank today's guest, Sara Mazer, the Federal Chief Technology Officer for LaunchDarkly. Sara, thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm your moderator, Justin Doubleday. You're watching Federal News Network. Now let me send you back to the studio for more on the Cloud Exchange.